Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, then be sure to subscribe and like the video if you like it, dislike it if you don't, and we'll get on into it. So you've seen the title of the video. Before I really get too far into this subject, I guess I probably should sort of preface it with the reason why I am actually talking on this subject. Now, depending on what side of YouTube you've been on, what sort of content you listen to, you probably come across this subject before, especially if you've kind of been into the, I guess, the manosphere or red pill side of things. You probably come across the subject that's been very similar to this, and usually in some of those videos, it's more so kind of going back and forth between like a man versus woman perspective. And I really don't want to talk about it in that particular light. I am not referring to this subject about whether men should be more emotional, if we should express emotion more so for the benefit of others, for females, for example, or women, for example. I'm more so talking about this from the perspective of really your journey, right? Your goals in life. If you've been with this channel for a while, you've probably seen that I like to talk quite a bit on goals, having purpose in life, having something that you're working for, that you're, that lifelong journey, that lifelong overall purpose, the goals that you're working on, all these sorts of things. So I tend to try to make my channel oriented towards that for the most part. I know the videos can get kind of random at times, but I try to kind of stay in that area because I think that this is something that, it's definitely important. Things that I've learned throughout my life that I feel that if I had have known 10 or so years ago, by this time, I'd probably be a whole lot further in life than I am now. But anyways, that's the perspective I want to talk about this in. Should men be more emotional? Now, again, we've probably seen this before on other videos in which they're talking about how, I guess, how there's this bit of push to, I don't want to say make men a little bit more feminine or what, or to be more so on that emotional side. There's lots of content out there that talks about that. And again, I really don't want to get into it for that perspective. I'm more so getting into this or more so in the area of why I think that it is a bit of a detriment for men to kind of, I don't want to say embrace, but to more so live and act on that emotional side. So I'll try to be as clear as I can to kind of get what I'm saying here. So again, I want to tailor this video towards the having the mindset of, having goals, things that you're working on. And this is the reason why I think that it's important that we tend to, or that we not so much live on that emotional side of the spectrum. Now, when you think about it, what are some of the things that are qualities that you may find when someone is living on that emotional side, when someone is constantly out there expressing themselves, every little thing that goes on negative in their life, every little struggle that they go through, that they're putting it out there. And what they're looking for is usually attention, right? And I don't want to say that in a negative way, but usually that's where this is coming from. I have been off of Facebook for a couple years now, almost approaching 2 years. And I can even look back on my own post from several years ago in which I did this as well. Something negative going on, didn't necessarily direct it towards anyone, but I did sort of express things and wrote things on my post on my page as if, the world was listening to it, as if someone really cared, right? And looking back, I kind of cringed looking at that sort of stuff, and it's like, nobody really cared. Everybody's going through their own problems, right? So really what's happening here is that we put our emotions out there a lot of times seeking attention, seeking someone to make us feel better, right? It's the same way when we try to escape how we're feeling with alcohol or drugs, or, a lot of times people will pick up their phone and try to text someone, hey, how you doing? Because what they're doing is usually they want to distract themselves away from how they're feeling, right? A lot of times that we spend a lot of time sort of wasted looking for someone to make us feel better, or putting our energy out there, our emotions out there externally, as if that's going to make us feel better. And again, the main factor here is that is a lot of time spent wasted, right? And from the perspective of someone who has goals, who's trying to work towards something, usually you really can't afford to let those little moments slip away, and they add up. They add up, and I think one of the major things here is that you can fall up in this habit of seeking attention from other people, seeking attention or for someone else to heal our wounds, someone else to, so that we can lean our head on their shoulders. That's what we're constantly doing when we're doing this. And again, it's just time that's taken away from the things that we really need to be doing. Now, I do want to say this does not mean by any means that we should bottle our emotions up and get to this point where we're going to explode. No, I feel that there are healthy ways of dealing with our emotions. There are healthy things that we can do that can, that's more so away from the side of trying to run from them and more so trying to deal with them, right? Now, I am an advocate of seeking counseling, those sorts of things. When I went through a stressful period in my life a few years ago, I did the same thing for a very short period, but I am an advocate of that. I think that it's something that, if you're going through something difficult in life, that this can be, very important to do. So I don't want to say that you should not, bring issues to other people. I'm just more so saying to not get caught up in the habit of putting things out there as if the world really cares about it, or as if, there's going to be someone who's going to come along and swipe us off of our feet and everything's going to be all fine. No. We tend to sort of want to run away from what we see in the mirror, the issues that we're going through. We tend to want to run away from ourselves. And I think also we tend to be afraid of where our minds are going to go, especially when we're alone, when we're, to ourselves. We tend to be afraid of where our minds are going to go. And then we seek, external things to kind of deal with them. But again, the main point here is that when we're doing that, it's just time that's just slipping away. So, especially from the perspective of someone who's working towards something, it's time that you really can't afford to let go. And this is one of the main reasons why I feel that, you'll see it a lot of times, especially, when it comes to like relationships and stuff, how people sort of complain, or again, I don't want to talk about it from a man versus woman perspective, but you'll usually feel or see women saying that their significant others are not, expressing themselves, or they seem kind of cut off or kind of distant, or, they don't really want to talk or something about issues and these sorts of things. Or they may not want to, after work or something like that about, things that are going on in their own lives. And a big part of that is a lot of times, I think, as a man, we tend to prefer to deal with whatever it is that we're going through, or more so, if there's a task or something that we have to get done, we tend to want to put those emotions to the side and not really think about them and just focus on getting whatever it is that's ahead of us done, right? A lot of times there's just no time to dwell in how we feel. There's no time to talk about how we feel. There's no time to kind of fall off into that rabbit hole about, feelings, because it most of the time it just does not benefit us. It does not serve us. And again, if you make a habit out of that, if you make a habit of always seeking to express these things to other people, it's just, are you really fixing the issue, or are you just trying to patch it up, or, to have someone to listen to and to, always advise you there, to be dependent on other people to help you cope. So that's the main thing, not running away from the things that we're going through, not being so expressive of them, because a lot of times they just don't benefit us to express them. One of the things also is that, and this can be for both genders, obviously, but when you tend to put these things out there, when you tend to be more emotional, you tend to express these things, a lot of times that can come across as being or complaining. A lot of times that comes across as complaining. And again, this does not mean that you can't talk about your issues or talk about what's going on in your life, but what it does mean is that when you always have something constantly negative to talk about, you're always putting that negative energy out there, people, that drags people down. People talk about, oh, you don't care and all these sorts of things. But to be honest, I am the type of person that I truly believe that I am very selfish with my energy. I'm selfish with my time. And when something is constantly putting me down, or someone's constantly being negative, I really just don't want to hear it. It's just, that may seem cold at times or sound cold, but a lot of times I've heard people who are it's always something negative. It's always something that just takes the energy out of the room. And when you constantly hear that over and over and over, it just drags you down. And again, I am very selfish with my energy because I want to put myself on a, at least have myself on a positive spectrum, or have energy that I can invest in things. And I really just don't want to always feel down listening to negative things and this or another thing. No, I am not a expert on listening to these sorts of things, or I'm not a counselor. Obviously I do these videos, but at the same time, it does not mean that I want someone dependent on me to that I'm always having to be there to pick them up, because if I'm picking them up, then I am either pulling myself down or using a lot of my energy to do that. And when people become dependent on you to be that pick me up or whatever, maybe that, I don't know if that's the right phrase for it, but when people are dependent on you to do that, it really just it's difficult. It takes you down. I get it. You want to be there for other people, and that's what people consider as caring about someone. But at the same time, I respect other people enough to not put my negative energy out on them, and I hope that they can respect me to do the same thing. So, so for the most part, it just comes across as complaining. A lot of times it comes across as complaining, and you really don't want to have someone feeling like you're a burden on their life, because it just, again, it drains the energy out of the room. So I did want this video to especially to reach that bit of a younger audience, because I know that when you're young, you are you're much more vulnerable to making decisions out of emotions than when you grow older, when you grow mature. When you're younger, I've seen a lot of times people make decisions based off of what they call is love. Young men make decisions off of where they're going to go to college, or where they're going to relocate or not relocating at all, based off of those emotions at that particular period in time. Things that really probably don't even last for the most part in their life. And what they've done is they've sealed themselves, or they've altered the course of their life, because they were making that decision based off of how they felt in a particular moment, right? Based off of emotion, based off of what they felt was love. And that's fine to a degree. But when you make decisions more rationally, I tend to believe that it's going to benefit your life in the long road a whole lot more, versus making decisions off of how you feel in the moment, right? Because really, emotions are quite fickle. One moment you're feeling one way, you're on a high. Next moment you're on a low. One moment you're happy. Next thing you know, you're sad. And these are things that we really can't rely on to make decisions, right? I think it was Joe Rogan that had said a few years ago something about if he only worked out when he felt good, then he'd be out of shape. And that's true as well. If you only you only exercise and do things, work on your goals when you feel good, there's a good chance that you're just losing a lot of time, and it's valuable time that's just going to waste, valuable energy that's going to waste. So you really can't make these decisions based off of emotions. But I've seen it happen where guys make these decisions based off of how they felt during those period of times when they're young, and the next thing you know, someone dumps them or something like that, and then they look back and realize that, hey, they made this decision based off of something that was external, right? And this is one of my main points about about emotions in general, because typically we tend to put them out in the world. We tend to put them out into the world and hope that the world deals with them or helps us cope with them, rather than facing them ourselves. And this really, when you live on that emotional spectrum, you're kind of living off of these things are internal, but for the most part, when you think about it, you're giving your control to them. You're giving your control to the energy that you're putting out in the world. You put it out there, and then you make your decisions based off of it, versus being conscious of how you feel, acknowledging how you feel, and then saying that, hey, I can't factor this in. What is the best decision that I actually should make, right? And what's actually going to benefit me more so in the medium term and the long term? It comes down to that reacting versus responding sort of thing. A lot of people react based off of external things that spike their emotions of anger, of hatred, all these sorts of things. Then they go out and kill someone, or go out and do something crazy on during a fit of road rage, or they're sad about something that they go out and do these crazy things, versus responding, right? Or taking a step back and calming down, breathing, and saying that, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that, right? Maybe I shouldn't flip this person off in the road, because when you think about it, what benefit is it going to bring to either of you? So Really, when you're living off of that emotional spectrum, you leave yourself vulnerable to making horrible decisions in your life, decisions that, in the moment may seem like the right thing, or in the moment you're just not really thinking about it. Your body is just kind of on autopilot. And people who have those issues with anger, I don't know if they have to or should do some sort of anger management, and probably should, because really anger is one of those emotions that can get you in a whole lot of trouble. It can get you in a whole lot of trouble, as well as any other heightened emotions. Making decisions based off of fickle emotions that are really not concrete is, again, just a sure way to make bad decisions in life. And this is especially important when you're young, because you're a lot more volatile. You're a lot more vulnerable to these sorts of things. When I was in high school, I remember a lot of times I get pissed off about certain things. And, I had to go home and punch a heavy bag or something to get it out, kind of rage by working out. I channel my emotions. And that's another good point of, sometimes when you are in these heightened emotional states, channel that emotion. What sort of benefit can you get out of that? What sort of thing or how can you channel this and use it to your advantage, right? You think about Dragon Ball Z with Goku harnessing the power of the world or whatever to harness that into a spirit bomb. How can you harness these emotions and use that to your advantage, right? And use that as fuel for something. If you need to get it out, go work out, go for a run or something like that, and you'll feel a whole lot better afterwards. So again, that's one of the main points that I want to make, is just not living off of that emotional spectrum. And really, like I said, to the question of should men be more emotional? Should we express and put these things out in the world? No, I don't believe so, because again, it leads you to making horrible decisions a lot of times. And this doesn't mean that we don't naturally factor in our emotions to what we do. We do. That's natural, right? We're human beings. I can sit up here and tell you that I make all my decisions based off of ration and logic, but the reality is I don't, right? I do not. But I do feel that I try to de-elevate my emotions in my decision-making processes, right? I try to set those aside, or to try to diminish the risk of making decisions based off of them. And I more so try to think a little bit more rationally and ask myself, really what is the best thing to do right now, right? Versus responding or versus reacting. How can I respond best that can get the best outcome of this? And maybe this outcome is going to be shitty as it is, but how can I at least fix it to some degree, or minimize the damage that's already caused, or that may be, that's just inevitable, right? So again, just to kind of wrap this up, I do not believe that men should be more emotional, or that we should express these things all the time. And I can only talk about this as a man because I am one. Maybe these same principles apply to women as well. I can see how they could benefit, but as a man, I can tell you that really it just doesn't serve you well to kind of put these things out there. And as I said before, it doesn't mean to ignore your emotions. No, I am a very emotional person. But the way I express my emotions, I don't necessarily just express them out to the world, because, the world doesn't want to hear it, right? I don't want to put my power into the world. I don't want to put my power or give my power up. I don't want to relinquish it. No, I want to acknowledge what I'm going through, acknowledge how I feel, and then try to factor in how can I fix this, right? Versus relying on other people to do so. And I think that that's really what can benefit us in the long run. That helps us build, a framework, our own philosophy that helps us navigate through life, so that when we have, handle more difficult decisions in life, we have experience in doing so, versus running away to alcohol, versus calling on someone else up, versus, having to always hang out and just relinquishing our time to things that just aren't necessarily going to benefit us. If you need counseling, seek counseling, but do not just go posting everything negative all over the internet, because, the harsh reality is people really don't care. That's the harsh reality. I don't care who it is, your husband, your wife, or whoever it is. To a certain degree, people just don't fucking care, because they have things that they're dealing with in their own life, right? So we have to be adults and we have to be able to cope with our own emotions. We have to be able to put the things in, the processes in place to be able to handle them and go forward in life. And think about it again as the time perspective. The more you're spending time dwelling on your emotions, the more time you're taking away from everything else. Set time aside to deal with them. Set time aside to reflect, to acknowledge how you feel, to be conscientious of how you're feeling, and use whatever practices that seem fit to you, to deal with them, to get to the root of them. Don't run from them, but at the same time, don't operate making decisions based off emotions. And the main point of why I feel that we shouldn't, I guess, be so emotional or express them outside of us is just because that kind of relinquishes a little power away. So again, I hope that I've been clear on this. I wrote my points down, and I think that I've managed to hit on all of them. This is a great topic, I think, and I don't know if I did a good enough job of prefacing the video, the reason why I want to kind of talk about some of these things. So I'll try to briefly do a little bit of or add on to that. So as I grow older, I get, obviously a higher drive to express what I've learned to the younger generations. I'm still fairly young myself, but I do feel that it's important that we get these things out there to the younger generations, because I to be honest, I've said this several times before. I think it's becoming increasingly difficult to maintain your sanity in this life nowadays. And I to be honest, I feel for some of the generations that are coming up because of some of the things that are, it's just the nature of the world that we're creating, that I feel that it's making it difficult for us to actually live in it. And this is why I'm an advocate of unplugging. This is why I'm an advocate of getting off of, some of these social media platforms, because, being plugged into them just does not make life any more easier. So, again, I think that it's important to get these things out there to the younger generations. I'm still learning myself. I'm still, making mistakes, and I'm still growing as well. But I do feel that drive to express and to get these things out there, because I think that they can benefit people. They can, again, if I can say that if I had wished I'd known this 10 years or when I was 10 years younger, then I think that this can benefit people who are at that point in time to learn from what I have learned, or learn from my mistakes, and so on and so forth. So so I hope that you guys have enjoyed. I'll be bringing some more content like this coming along, so stick around. And if you've enjoyed this video, like I said, give it a like, subscribe if you're not subscribed, dislike the video if you don't like it, comment on what you disagree on or agree on, and we'll go from there. So till next time, guys, I will catch you later.